Hello, hello. Welcome to Healthy Perspectives, a podcast that takes on current cultural and social issues through a clinical lens. Hello, hello. All right. Welcome back. Thank you again so much for joining us. Today, I'm going to do something that's going to be a little bit on the more controversial side, I'm sure, because every time I talk about these really challenging cultural topics, there's going to be some emotions involved, and that's what makes it controversial. Some of you are going to be upset. Some of you are going to be like, well, why didn't you talk about this? Or why didn't you talk about that? And, hey, you have opinions. I get it. But today, we are going to talk about what is the real woke of 2023. The real woke, not what the culture is telling you. The whole concept of being woke back way in the day when it was first a thing was the idea of waking up, being able to see what you couldn't see before because you didn't want to, because you fought against it. Well, guess what? There's something that has you sleeping today. Most of you are sleeping through this topic that I'm going to give you today. And yes, I'm going to talk about Trump. I'm going to talk about Biden. I'm going to talk about justification and blame and all of these weird things that are happening culturally to put it in perspective for you, because I want more than anything for you to be real woke, not this joke woke stuff that's going on, real woke. I want you to wake up to what is happening right in front of you, what is happening to you, what is being shoved down your throat and making you unhealthy when you don't need to be. Okay, I'm a little worked up. Deep breath for me. All right, the idea of being woke is originally about seeing reality, right? It's about waking up to the distortion that is the dream world. Well, unfortunately, going woke today means something totally different. And unfortunately, it's distorted as well. But that's okay, because I get to use it to go back to its original content and say, no. Wake up, you sleepyhead, get your crap together. Let's move forward. We are going to get rid of a distortion, a massive distortion that most of our culture is dealing with right now. And that is this infatuation that we have with Hunter Biden or Joe Biden or Donald Trump. These infatuations or fandoms are completely ridiculous. So what is this? Let's put it in perspective for you. Okay. Many of you have a team that you root for, or maybe it's a video game that is, it can't do anything wrong. No matter what, it is your number one. I'll give you an example. I, since childhood, have been a Mets fan. I know you're judging me. Turn it off now, like it's over. But no, for real, I've been a Mets fan since the 80s, because I was a kid in the 80s. And did I pick for all the right reasons? I was a kid. Of course not. I liked the name Strawberry. And then, I loved watching, Dwight Gooden throw on the mound. Best curveball in baseball, right? I liked Jesse Orosco and Carter and the whole crew. They were awesome. Okay, Keith Hernandez. The list goes on. Lenny Dykstra. I could go on and on, folks. Why? Because I was a kid and I was a fan. I saw right through all of the drugs that were clearly going on. Why? I didn't want to see them. I was a fan. I didn't want to. I was a child and I was a fan. I didn't want to see reality. So I slept through it and I was a fan of theirs. Did reality smack me in the face a few years after that? Yes, it did. Absolutely. Just as it slapped many of them in the face. but I was a fan. And with my fandom or my infatuation, I would justify things when I heard them. Oh, they did this. Well, yeah, of course. They were going through stuff with their family. Why, of course they did stuff. Oh, yeah, they did this. Well, of course. They had a bad series. They had 4 straight bad outings. Of course, they fell off the rails a little. I did it in reverse order. Why? Because I would say, oh, they went to that because of their baseball stuff. Fandom. That was me being a fan. But that's a distortion. Chances are their performance stunk because of their use of drugs, not the other way around. So we do this. We do this thing. We get infatuated with things. And then, we look into the political arena, something like Biden or Trump. And you look at people are hating them or loving them. It's all fandom. It's all infatuation. It's kind of funny because, I listen to these podcasts and, these radio takes and, look at these YouTube outs or clips of Joe Biden. And it's so funny. Most of them are Republicans talking about Joe Biden. Does that make sense to you? They're talking about him because they hate him. I look at the Trump clips, and you know what most of them are? Democrats, full of hatred. That's because it's a distortion. My role today is to help you see this, and I'm going to do it through a couple of clinical lenses. All right? We're going to take the clinical lens for justification. When somebody on the Republican side points at Biden, what they're doing is pointing at Biden to justify Trump's behavior. Flip the narrative. When somebody on the Democrat side is pointing to Trump, they're pointing to Trump to justify the Biden decisions. Yeah, that's stupid. Straight up, that justification is stupid. It's dumb. And if you're going to sleep through this, then unfortunately, you're dumb. I'm not a name caller. I'm just saying it how it is. When we justify what we want by pointing at somebody who's worse, we're the stupid ones. So wake up. Get 2023 woke, not this woke cultural movement crap, which, by the way, is trying to put you to sleep in reality. We can have that conversation elsewhere because I've done it before. I don't want to revisit that. I want you to wake up to these justifications that you're making based on, he's worse. You could always find somebody better, always find somebody who's worse. If you're making your decision based off of, he's worse, unfortunately, you're not awake. And you're going to be the fool in the end. My encouragement is don't be the fool. It's not comparative. Why? Because they both make good decisions. They both make dumb decisions. You have to decide which one is going to represent all of us. And unfortunately, if you're doing it based off of your justifications, you're going to make a crappy decision. You're just going to make a terrible decision. Let's look at the other angle of this. Blame. Well, I'm going to justify because they're worse. And then I'm going to blame them for tearing us apart. No. If you're justifying and then you turn around and you blame, you're the reason for the divisiveness, that separation, the us and them mentality. It's not a comparative. Which one represents you closer? to who you are. Not this, oh, well, the Democrats can never do anything wrong, or, oh, the Republicans can never do anything wrong. No, they all do things wrong. And they all have good that they can contribute. The real question is not about justifying your stance, saying, well, they're worse, blaming them. Well, they got us here. No, you do that, you are distorted. So let's talk about distortion for a second. If you've been with me for a while, you've probably heard me say this. 1 degree off in morality, 1 degree is no big deal in the short term, if we self-correct in the short term. So you get off, you're off a degree, it lasts about a week, you self-correct, boom, you're back on track, no big deal. You get off 10 degrees for a week, and that's a pretty big deal. You get off 40 or 50 degrees for a week, that's a really big deal. But 1 degree for 1 week, not that far off, easy correction, all is good. But calculate it over time. Let's be real with each other, folks. If the Mets kept bringing in drug-addicted players week after week, month after month, year after year, we have a morality issue. We have a cultural issue that will literally tear them apart. They will not make it. They just won't. 1 degree for a little while, we can probably live with that. Unfortunately, 1 degree tends to be a long while. You go off 1 degree in a ship or a plane, and you go for an hour, 2 hours, a day, 2 days. All of a sudden, you are way off target because time plays a factor. 1 degree over a week on a ship, and you miss your target by hundreds of miles. 1 degree for a couple of hours in a plane, hundreds of miles. We have to constantly be correcting, or we get distorted. Now, here's how it goes, folks. This whole Biden and Trump justification because of our fandom, our infatuation, which y'all need to get over that. They're human, and frankly, they suck just like you and me. They aren't going to be the saviors, the heroes. They never were, they never will be. They are people. And frankly, both of them did some things that we can look at and go, well, that's pretty good. And both of them did some things we can look at and go, oh, that's pretty bad. And if you can't do that, you suck because you're a fan and you're blind. And fandom needs to stop. See them clearly. Please, I implore, I beg, please open your eyes and go woke 2023, which is see reality. Do not ignore reality. Stop justifying and blaming. Correct the path. So if we look at the Biden and the Trump thing, let's start with Biden. Is he 1 degree off? 5 degrees off? 10 degrees off? 20, 30, 50? If so, don't hate the guy. Hate the process. He's clearly off morally. Fix the process. Vote different. Let's look at Trump. Is he 1 degree off? 10 degrees off? 20, 30, 50 degrees off? Now, here's the unfortunate part. We may have to look at this and go 1 degree off, 5 degrees off, 10 degrees off, and then compare it to 1, 5, 10 on the other side and say, which one is closer and can more easily be pushed toward the moral center? Now, if you're not doing it based on morals, that's okay. It's still the same concept. I mean, it's not okay. Let's be real. But if you're going to do it based off economics, let's say, which one's 5 degrees, 10 degrees, 50 degrees off? Still the same concept. Why? Because if you're going to justify and blame, well, they're doing this because of this moral reason. And so economically, look, be real with yourself. When you're looking at the economics, look at the friggin' economics. When you're looking at morality, look at the morality. Don't use one to justify the other. That's a way of lulling yourself to sleep and making crappy decisions. You're going to be the fool in the end. Okay? I'm hoping this makes sense. This is a pretty simple concept in terms of conceptuality, right? When we're looking at it, it's really difficult in application. Why? Because as fans, what you're going to do is you're going to go, well, economically, but the morals over here justify the economics over here. The economy is probably could be doing better. And yes, maybe so-and-so would make the economy better. But what would we have to give up? I mean, I can't sleep at night because of these morals. You got to prioritize those. And when you look at one category, foreign affairs, then look at foreign affairs. How does one manage those better or worse than the other? Based on what's important to you. Stop mixing up the categories and wake up. Please wake up. That's how we would go woke in 2023, folks. Stop the justification. Stop the blaming. Look at each one, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and ask yourself, which strengths are going to help us the most? And which weaknesses will cost us the least? That's how we look at these kinds of decisions if you want to do it from a clinical perspective. Why? Because in the culture, and we know culture supersedes politics, you have to ask yourself, what's more important to us as a people? That's how we do it. We don't justify and blame to get what we think we want. We open our eyes to reality. We look at our needs first and our wants second. And we say, what will get us our needs met? We meet those first and then go on to step number 2, which is our wants. All right. I know this was a little free flow, a little different, way more intense probably, but hey, this whole infatuation fandom thing is going to destroy us if we're not careful. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope this was helpful. Have a great day. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. We appreciate our audience a lot, so we give you some simple ways to track us down. Please like, subscribe, and follow all the podcasts on different platforms, but you can also email us at healthyperspectives@protonmail.com, or you can check out our website at healthy-perspectives.com/podcast. It's a backward slash. So if you want to go to our landing page, if you go to healthy-perspectives.com, you'll still find us. You just got to click on the podcast button. Thank you so much.